So have either of you had the opportunity to meet the artist?
I'm sorry?
Have either of you had the opportunity to meet and speak
Yes,
with the artist?
I did at
Yes.
the opening, just once.
Something that did come to mind about desire and craving, and have you put into consideration how time revolves around this specific exhibition or her work, per se?
Time?
Time.
No, what are you thinking?
Or
Just be it in the present or historically or futuristically, how she conveys these images or these storylines, and how maybe time seems to be, a big part of it. Such as your description of the gentleman that was kind of just waiting there, where there was this illusion in his mind, which seemed to be in the moment. It wasn't necessarily. And just even looking up there, she has this simple reference to a clock, or something. But there seems to be some element of is this going on now? Has this ever happened? Is this going to happen? Is this,
Right.
I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that work, if it seems relevant to you.
I think that if the picnic film is a fantasy, the time is irrelevant. It's something that you can elaborate, and as Rick was saying, you pull it out, you sing another stanza, you add another grape, and it's all under your control. It doesn't have to be finished. You can do it again and again and again, and that's part of what happens with the fetish, is that it becomes a stand-in over time and then set in place as the stand-in.
Well, I think it's a really good point. I mean, it actually, I think it's hard to hear the monologue terribly well there, but the very beginning starts with a statement, I'll look for you in every season, or something like that. And then he talks about, he says, I waited for you all day and all night, and a day for each hour. I quoted that line. And I think that speaks to how long how time expands when you waiting for someone or a meal, when there's a craving, a minute seems like an hour.
Like when you all were waiting for us to start talking.
When you were waiting for us to finish talking.
That brings up another point too, this craving, and when does it become an obsession, and so there's a psychology that I look at it in terms of reference to time too, and it's like, okay, what do I do with this craving? Or there was a word you were using, I just forgot, maybe just blanking out. That to me seems to be more of a reference of desire. There was something you were utilizing, just a matter of seconds before he spoke. But that seemed more desire in the sense of just in the now, as opposed to, something that you're just lingering and craving, be it a drug or whatever it is that you're obsessed with, or just this compulsory, never-ending, letting go.
Never ending, and at the same time very immediate.
Sure.
I mean, I think jagged was a word I used to try to describe what that experience might be. It has that immediacy and intensity. Not that longing over a longer period of time isn't intense also, but it's not like I've got to have it now. Like, I've got to have those potato chips so badly, I'm going to put them under my dress and get out of here. It's an interesting concept. Please.
You talked a little bit about turning desire or craving through sublimation into creation or creativity. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the process of, what people do when they how they deal with this absence. It seems like they can take it in a negative direction and, turn to like food or drugs or whatever. Maybe you could talk more about a healthy process and other outlets, or what that process looks like, or what other kind of outlets aside from artwork that people are able to fulfill that absence.
That's a tough
Tough,
one.
yeah.
We are much more inclined to talk about when they don't fulfill.
Well,
When you-
that would be
when there's a
interesting,
symptom,
too.
Like
you know,
you.
when you close down that space of creativity and instead it's only potato chips, you know, so that you can't,
Think outside of the box.
yeah, you collapse possibility in the surface of, as Rick was saying, having some control over it, but what you lose is a creative, vital engagement with many, many things.
And a flexibility of the ability to see more possibilities. That's the challenge, isn't it? Because when one becomes obsessively stuck on, I must have this one thing, it's the only thing that will satisfy me. There's a fixity of mind that doesn't allow seeing the rest of the world.
Unless you're stuck on art, in which case.
Yeah, when you ended the question with other than art, because I was going to say,
Yeah,
there are many artists here.
yeah.
We
I
asked
mean,
them.
I'm an artist. That's it, so.
But somebody was going to say something. Yeah.
I'm grateful for the question because I've been contemplating what is the relationship between object and subject in this work. And it seems to me that part of the failure in these work, or part of our human failure that these works are documenting, is when we fail to respect or honor the subjectivity of our objects, and they become objects only. And then we degenerate into the possibility of substituting an object for an object, rather than revering the choice of our lovers in their own subjectivity. Am I making any sense?
Yeah.
I think what you said relates to this prior comment, and one thought I had about how many of us, we use the realm of interpersonal relationships to be creative in. You know, we play well with others, you know, we go out and enjoy a meal, but do it with someone. And I guess that was something I was trying to speak to with those flies buzzing around, and you know, that they were in a bad place, but they were all together in a bad place. And that, you know, Miss Frou-Frou was just solo with that scratchy potato chip bag and hiding her wishes from the world.
I think it's a very astute point that you make, and it really was similar to what I was trying to express, in that this man, if you listen, it's perhaps you have listened to the soundtrack. It's purportedly referring to the lover who doesn't show up, but there's nothing about the lover. He says nothing about her except that she didn't show up, and he's talking on and on about what the fabulous things, the lengths that he's gone to, and what a wonderful provider he is, that he hasn't spoken to her. No wonder she hasn't shown up. But it's right, she's just an object who doesn't show up, and there's nothing about her in his thinking and in his concern, it seems.
It's all about him.
It's all about him.
Yes. I'm mindful of the work of Aldo Carton, I forget to pronounce his last name. He's a Jungian analyst who's written a book called Eros and Pathos, Shades of Love and Suffering. And he makes a big distinction between seduction and relationship. And how in relationship you're really focused on the subjectivity of the person in whom you're in relationship. and the real mature person tries to cultivate self-knowledge so that the projections you make onto the object of your desire has a chance of actually being fulfilled by having an appropriate object to fulfill them, or an appropriate subject who can carry the projections and live out your fantasy. And our disappointment comes when, in our immaturity, we choose subjects that can't bear our projections and don't have the potential to actually fulfill our fantasies with us. And seduction is the inability to bear the whole process of relationship building.
Well, seduction, it can be a sport, right? It's
Yeah,
a
power.
competitive sport in
Power.
many circles. It's not really about connecting with the other person.
It's a beauty pageant in its own way.
So that goes to the earlier question too about chronology and time. That it takes a certain time to learn who we are and what we actually mean, so that we're not. I mean, I haven't really seen the videos in their entirety, but it seems like it's a lot about externality and external standards by which we define our desires, rather than learning what we ourselves need and what really fulfills ourselves, and letting external worlds and consumer culture define what we should be or what we should desire, and how ultimately empty those objects are.
It's making me think about the seductive quality of Arthur Prysock's voiceover, which of course Lauren pieced together, a word here and a word there. So she wrote the narrative that he speaks. But that a woman in the late 60s or early 70s listening to this was apparently found it seductive. But on what basis? Because as Rick said, it's not about her. It's not somebody saying, not somebody saying anything, but it's offering this inflated, kind of elaborated sense of whom, what I can do for you, but it really isn't specific to anyone. And the same in these beauty pageants, It's not specific to any member of the audience. It's not specific to any participant in the pageant. It's cookie cutter and pastry print in the worst ways.
And ultimately unfulfilling.
Right. It reminded me of another thing I like to watch are those nature films. And there's the series The World of Birds is wonderful. And there are these birds, bowerbirds, and the male bowerbird builds this fabulous bower kind of structure, and unbelievably ornate and elaborate. They're artistically fabulous creations. It reminded me, seeing this film reminded me of those things.
I think you used the word love nest.
I did. That's probably
That
was my association. But my point was, in response to what you were saying, that it's a very narcissistic display. It's a peacock showing off. It isn't about tuning into the lover or the object. And no wonder she doesn't show up. Does she even exist?
And no wonder it's unfulfilling for him as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I actually, this one is for I actually really didn't read it as the picnic actually being made by the male who is the possessor of the voice.
Oh.
Maybe because in a very uncharacteristically sexist thought in my head, presenting food as love, as an object of love, is such a female kind of pursuit, right? So for me, the way I read the piece, at least this is the first 18 times I saw it, was really that it's the artist or a woman presenting her spread, and this sexy voice that's there is this side of her that wants to do this seduction. I don't know, I'm not sure exactly where it goes, but this idea of this gender layering of, it's a woman presenting what she usually presents, but she's doing it with the added oomph of this, testosterone lady. You're probably learning all kinds of things about me right now.
It gets to that true falsetto, it gets to that flip-flop, the gender, turning, spinning kind of quality, and as did Karen Carpenter. Karen Carpenter, I could tell you a lot about Karen Carpenter, but it's not very interesting, how many albums she did, etc. But she was a drummer, and they didn't think they wanted this girl drumming. And so they listened to her sing, and then they kind of, but she wanted to drum. She had gotten chopsticks and pots and pans. This was what she wanted to do. And especially at that time, I don't imagine there were many girls drumming, so they kind of pushed her. And I think her relationship with her female body also bears the marks, not necessarily that was trauma, but bears the marks of concern about what it would be like to be lushly female, as it does in all women who have that kind of eating disorder. So I don't know any more about you, Katie, but I like to talk about it.
So all this conversation, I think the question what we were saying, that we could think about that the desire and the cravings are very connected to creativity, and the only thing that stands apart is courage. And when you stop the courage, that's when you go in the craving activities, when you decide to come and to take the risk and feel the pain, that's when you can go into creativity, because then you can expand. So, because maybe all artists are always in the center, if you start, you go into the other side. And you can get out and just go back, but that's very encouraging.
That's a wonderful answer, because that state, in answer to the question, really, how does one go from craving to creativity? If there's a fixation on getting out of the pain, a short circuit, a quick fix, like junk food. You're not staying in the pain, right?
Exactly, because you do feel the pain, but then the pain is really kind of like an illusion. It's not real. It's not so real. It's more kind of like, oh, you're ugly.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, who cares? We keep going.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh wow, how fantastic the world is.
There's a
And then
denial.
you don't care about these little things.
Yeah.
Meaning, it's kind of like you take courage, like, I don't know, just, meaning, I am an artist in the process of going back and forth.
Yeah. Staying in it and exploring it. Right.
Well, I actually viewed the whole grocery shopping and the dress as a fantasy in and of itself. Because, you would never see someone actually doing that in real life. So I feel like that was almost like a fantasy for the artist. The idea of, going to the grocery store in this elaborate gown and, the process of shopping for all this junk food and all the contradictions and like the lie in between there. I think that's a great fantasy. It sounds like fun. But in reality, probably wouldn't happen too frequently. So I thought that was a really great kind of like marrying of fantasy and craving. And I think there's a little bit of satisfaction in seeing that, seeing that imagery together.
And courage. If someone could say, I lost this beauty pageant, hell, I'm going to go buy some ding-dongs in my dress. That there is a courage in that. So not necessarily, that's another thing we're all speaking to, of course, or another thing we're all reflecting is the multiplicity of readings that are possible that you all, because you appreciate art, know this about any one piece, and if we know about any one fantasy, about any one relationship, they're layered. And, I thought Rick was going to talk about loss and mourning, and I was like, okay, you can have that, and it would have been, I think there would have been a very cogent response from an analyst with that at its center. And any of us, or anyone who understands or tries to understand the unconscious can come up with a different reading. And all of those readings might be at play, all of those meanings might be at play in any one individual. So that's why analysis takes a long time. Number one, read the reader.
I had like a really different view of frou-frou, more as viewing it as like a man craving those women, and that they would be totally unsatisfying, just like the junk food. And I actually saw that bag of potato chips quite literally as like her private parts. And how unsatisfying that frou-frou woman would be if you were craving her, that she would not feed you, she's junk food, So it felt really different.
Right.
Brittle private parts rather than soft private parts.
Exactly.
Soft.
I have a different take. I met Lauren tonight at the event, but I didn't really stay with her talk. I have two things. One is that it can be total rebellion. It's like taking a beauty pageant and stuff it. And I'm going to go ahead and do all these things which I'm told not to do, but I really want to do it, and I have control over that now. And I'm going to do it. And the fact that the potato chips, to me, I almost view this is such an unladylike thing, and all I have to ever do is be ladylike. So that's one thing. The other thing is about the making of it itself. And I don't want to strike any of this take long, but the intense compulsion that she needed to fabricate and all that stuff that was fabricated. It was not a picture. Which I said, did you take photographs of these grocery shelves or ice freezers? No, I made every single one.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Using ice cream?
And the fact that these, what you see on the wall is just a minuscule number of the thumbnails that she did for the actual, she spent a ton of time on these very short videos. And it was just that thinking of almost maybe she was celebrating some cravings by creating her art, with all of these commodities of craving, at least in the food world. But it seems like it's so, there's, like you said, there's always, with any kind of art, there's all kinds of readings that you can bring to it, but it seems like maybe even some of what she gives us as cues might be misleading. Not necessarily purposefully, but well, in terms of what the take was, it was there were some differences, but you all had similar takes on it. Maybe that's not what we were thinking at all.
I think that there's a lot of confusion between subject and object, and like when the artist versus the art that she's making. So when we're talking about ideas of shame and sublimation into object, I think there are a lot of things where it's like, are we talking about Lauren Kelley, the artist who's making this? And it's interesting to me that it hasn't shame, we need to hide the fact that, you know, we might like hide potato chips between our legs, that, you know, it's, I think that she actually is doing a really interesting project of like devoting this amount of time to saying like, no, like I'm gonna put this on a video screen. This isn't shame, this is, you know, or, you know, if it is shame, let's talk about it on a video screen. Like, let's talk about it, like, project it out. And also with the true falsetto, with the picnic scene, that's, the recording that Arthur Prescott did is a poem from the Second World War. It was a love poem, and, you know, her interpretation of that is actually a very literal interpretation of what he's saying. And I thought, hey, what you were saying about like the presentation of like, you know, this is, it's almost more of a feminine presentation of, you know, like of a meal that, you know, that to me is, I think there are a lot of like gender layerings. Like, there was somebody who was saying back there, I thought this is really, you know, really kind of getting at the more of the point of what I feel like Lauren is trying to do with these things. Is, you know, to just, I feel like it almost simplifies it a little bit too much to say that, you know, this is just acknowledging, you know, the shame that women feel. Because I feel like we're past that. Like, please, can we be past that?
Well, I don't know that anything that any of us said, and I certainly don't want to be misunderstood as having said it is just this. But this is one of the meanings, the multiple meanings that it might be. And that's consistent with the psychoanalytic perspective, you know? It's not that X equals Y, but that you have an X, and that in conversation, in dialogue, in the experience of this relationship, we'll parse your X, which will be different from anybody else's
And
X.
different at different points in your life.
So,
People change and develop constantly.
if we're listening.
I saw, well, just to follow up on Aaron and Sherry, I think I read the potato chips as more as a rebellion and also as, I mean, I felt watching stealing them. Because I don't know why you would feel more shame eating a potato chip than a ding dong or a twink. I mean, in fact, it's a little higher on the potato chip. I mean, I think if you leave it out, it will spoil. And those hostess things, after 3 months, they don't have a problem. But I felt like that was a rebellion. And as far as shaming, I think the fact that when you're in a beauty contest, you're historically have been way underweight, and how you do that is by not eating. And so she lost, but she could also be asserting her right or her desire to fulfill that and to negate the loss. So
What we're doing, what we're enacting is a psychoanalytic concept of the projective hypothesis, you know, that all of us, like in a Rorschach card, all of us can look at the same thing. We'll all be able to say this was about a picnic, that was about a beauty pageant. But it's your specific picnic, your specific beauty pageant, your specific potato chip, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's part of what's so fun about getting together with a group of people to talk about art.
good way to end.